have another video in the works coming up on plateaus and what to do when you find yourself stuck in a workout plateau. So keep an eye out for all the things coming up on this channel. Christmas socks! Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brandy. I am a health coach and a graphic designer. And if you're subscribed already to the channel, welcome back. And if not, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about plateaus. I hope it helps you just hearing my experience and some of the ways that I try to make sure I'm continually making progress when it comes to training and nutrition and getting enough rest and all that stuff. So let's dive in. So first off, what are we even talking about? Like, what is a plateau? So a plateau is where you're basically just stuck. You're literally like dead when it comes to making progress, and that can be so frustrating. So I get it. And that's one of the most frustrating places for me to be, because I know when I'm putting in the effort, when I'm weighing out the food, when I'm tracking the calories, if I'm flatlining is like dead, right? There's no movement. And so for me, that's so frustrating, because if I'm putting in all that work, like, I'm out here trying to live, you know what I'm saying? What is even more frustrating about being in a plateau is for those of y'all who are not even tracking your progress, or you're not even tracking where you're at. Because how can you know if you're even in a plateau if you're not tracking to see where you are? Now, I know that there are a lot of people out there who don't want to count calories and whatnot. Yeah, okay, I get it. Calorie counting helps a lot of people. It's not something that you need to obsess about, but it is something that helps. But calories are not the only things to be measured or counted. You can also weigh yourself, which I know that can be triggering for people. But you have to start somewhere. Like, you have to have some sort of understanding as to where you are and what you're doing, instead of just being willy-nilly all over the place trying everything and thinking that you're gonna come out amazing on the other end, when you don't even really know what you're doing, how much you're eating, how much you're refueling yourself, and you're not tracking like any amount of time that you're taking to do all these things in. It's very chaotic. Because if you don't even know what you're doing and how long you've been doing it, how do you even really know that you're in a plateau? I would say at least track your workouts. Track how many pounds you're lifting. Track how much cardio you're doing. Like, if you're on an incline of 3 and you walk for 20 minutes on a treadmill for maybe 3 times a week, track all of that stuff. And then if you feel like you're not getting anywhere with your health and fitness goals, then start making slight adjustments to your activity levels. And after you start making those slight adjustments, just keep track of that one thing that you're doing for your activity, and track that for at least 4 to 8 weeks to see if you improve over time, or if you get a little bit closer to your goal. Is there a spider in here? Is there a spider in here right now? So I really do stress the importance of tracking something, simply because this was something that I struggled with very early on in my training. I think I've mentioned this in other videos, but I would just kind of go to the gym and just do everything willy-nilly stuff, and then just think that, hey, at some point I'm gonna start to see improvement in my physique. And that obviously didn't happen. If anything, I lost muscle and made it harder for myself to get to my fitness goals because of what I was doing, which was just way too much. So tracking is so important. And for me, I track several different things. So obviously, as a female, I'm going to track my cycle. I'm going to track how much weight I'm lifting. I'm going to track how much cardio I'm doing, how many times a week I'm training, obviously. And I also track my nutrition. I track my macros to make sure that I'm getting enough protein and keeping an eye on how much fat that I eat in a day. And so collecting all these different data points really helps me understand the method by which I'm trying to hit my goals, and it helps me know where and how to adjust certain things slightly along the way so that I'm either getting through a plateau quite well or I'm avoiding it completely. So as far as my personal journey and experience with plateaus, I've been on either end of the extreme. I was either doing too little or I was doing too much, and that can be in any area, whether it's nutrition or training. So if I ate too little and trained too much, not only was I plateaued, but I was just completely like trashed. Like I could not, the energy was gone, losing muscle, not doing well. And so I really had to learn how to balance the fitness and the nutrition to meet the needs of my goals along the way. And so I've been on the opposite end of the spectrum too, where I was maybe eating too much or training too much or training too little, underestimating what I can do. And so for me, it's very important that I balance my nutrition with the level of training that I'm doing at any given time. And so what's really nice for me is that I don't have to function at either of these extremes. I can just stay somewhere in the middle and make slight adjustments and push myself when I need to push myself and then rest when I need to rest. So, more specifically speaking, what does this look like? I am prone to overdoing the training. I'm not gonna lie. It's how I got into fitness in the first place. I just dove in. I just started doing everything. I started experimenting with everything. A couple years down the line, I signed up for all these different programs while also wanting to do a class at the gym, while also wanting to do my own thing, while also wanting to run, and just doing everything like all at once instead of taking seasons to try new things and then figure out what I wanted to do from there. I literally just tried to do everything at once. And so, of course, that led to burnout. And then when I really honed in on just weightlifting and just bodybuilding and recomposition, when I really honed in on that, like I dove deep into that one area. So it was good that I narrowed down my focus, but I still had this mentality of that I have to do it all right now. And that was not gonna work. So very quickly, I started lifting too much. I started trying to do too much volume, trying to do way too many reps, trying to do way too many sets, and it was just too much. And trying to do that every single day, trying to hit every body part every single day. And I hit a plateau like very quickly, as you could imagine. I did have this period of seeing those newbie gains. Now, I wasn't necessarily lifting heavy, but after, playing sports recreationally and after doing some running, diving into lifting anything over any period of time, I did put on some muscle, which was nice. And so that fueled me to want to do more and want to lift more and stay at the gym longer. And that was really like the opposite of what I needed to do at that point. I really should have just focused on maybe increasing my protein or trying to go up in weight by maybe 2.5 pounds on certain lifts and trying to maintain that muscle and challenge it a little bit more, or do a deload. Like, there were so many times where I needed to do a deload and I just didn't do that. Obviously, when we're lifting weights, we're tearing the muscle, we're breaking down the muscle and building it back up again through rest and nutrition and recovery. So when I'm tearing down my muscle and I'm constantly going back to the gym, tearing it down more and more and more and more, it never has a chance to rest, it never has a chance to rebuild, and I was perpetually operating in that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight part of my brain, which is always on. It's not a good breeding ground for gains in that instance. I say all that to say this. If you're the kind of person, when you look back at your training and you're balls to the walls, no days off, here we go, lift as much as you can, I'm bleeding out of my eyeballs, doing these bicep curls. If you're that kind of person, you probably need to chill. You're probably doing more damage if you're doing that every single day. That is generally not good for your body if you're just a normal person like me, working out, trying to stay healthy, trying to put on some muscle. It is not good to be hurting yourself every single day lifting weights like that. Now that doesn't mean you don't challenge yourself. Obviously every day you go in, you want to do your best, you want to challenge yourself, but there's a limit as to how much each of us can do. And I think deep down you know when you're doing too much. Like I knew, like I was trying to play myself at the time, but I knew deep down I was doing too much. I knew I wasn't helping myself by what I was doing. And on the opposite end, you know when you can do more. So this was actually something that I ran into a little bit more recently. It was probably last year. Yeah, it was last year actually. I felt like I was just kind of going through the motions, like wake up, go to the gym, or go to my home gym and just do a workout and then kind of be done. And like, yeah, I got a little sweat in and whatnot, but I wasn't challenging myself, and I was doing that same routine every single day. And then I got frustrated when I looked the same. Like I looked the exact same. I wasn't losing any weight, I wasn't gaining any weight. I was just kind of meh. And so that was frustrating because I felt like I'm putting in the time, I'm putting in the effort, and yet I am not getting anything out of it for 6 weeks now. Well, that's officially a plateau. Like I was officially in a plateau, and I was getting mentally frustrated, and I was tired, but I wasn't really like seeing any progress and wondering, why am I so tired? And I knew it's because I'm not pushing myself enough. I'm doing 15-pound dumbbell bicep curls, and I knew I could do 25. Like I knew I could do it, but the thing that was stopping me from doing it was I didn't want to see my number of reps go down. Now this is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever done, but I really enjoyed seeing my hypertrophy progress, because I went through this period of hypertrophy training where I would go, for example, with the 15-pound bicep curls, I would do 8 reps, and then I would feel like, okay, I maybe have 2 in the tank, so let me just stop. So then I would do that, and then the next week I would do 10 reps, and then 12 reps, and then I got up to 15 reps. And I was like, yeah, so 15 is like, it's really challenging. I'm at a 10 at 15 reps with 15-pound dumbbells, bicep curls. Like, yeah, like, I was making progress. But then, after I made that progress, I didn't want to go up in weight and go to 20-pound dumbbells and then only get 8 reps. Like, I felt like that was a fail. Obviously, that's not a fail. Obviously, that's muscle gain, that's growth, that's increased strength. I know that now. At some point, I woke up, right? I woke up and I said, you're trying to get strong. You're going up to 20-pound dumbbells. This is a wonderful thing. Start at 8, then get to 10, and you just do the same thing that you did with the 15s. Like, it's not rocket science. But I had such a hard time seeing those numbers go down because I thought that meant I was not as strong or that I failed in some area, and that just wasn't true. If your weight's going up and you're trying to build muscle and the numbers are not as high for your reps, don't feel like you're weaker, like you're stronger, obviously, if the amount of weight that you're lifting has gone up. Don't let the numbers really get to you in that way where it stops you from progressing, especially if your goal is strength. Because if anytime the weights go up that you can lift, that's an amazing thing and you're closer to your goal. And also another thing is, I think the reason why I was hesitant to go down in my repetitions in that specific example is because I wasn't realizing that I needed to work in training phases or training blocks. So I had a period of lifting and doing 8 to 15 reps, this hypertrophy phase, and then after I did that for such a long time, I didn't really want to move into the strength training phase. Like, I was afraid of gaining too much weight, I was afraid of my reps going down and not feeling as strong even though I was stronger, and so it's just this hesitation to move into a different training phase. And for me, the way that I really avoid plateaus is to have phases of training. So having a hypertrophy phase where I'm leaving maybe 2 to 4 reps in the tank for each set, and having a moderately challenging weight where I know that I can do it, but I hit a wall that I can kind of see coming, but I haven't quite hit that wall yet. So having a hypertrophy phase for me is really great. It's probably one of my favorite ways to train. And right now I'm in this strength training phase where I really only have like 1 or 2 reps left in the tank because the weight is heavy, the reps are not as high, but I'm pushing through and I'm doing as much as I can safely and just really trying to keep the weight moving, and it's very hard. I do enjoy the challenge of this strength training phase. It's something that I like doing, but I'm still just getting used to it because I'm not as familiar with it as I am the hypertrophy phase. But that's alright, we're getting through it, we're seeing muscle come and we're seeing some sustained growth and whatnot in all the right places, so I am happy about that. And then the next phase of training that I move into after my strength phase is a deload phase. Now this is probably my least favorite phase of training because it is like way too easy. It's like I feel like what am I doing, like 10-pound weights and 15-pound weights, and it's like so annoying. So I find the deload phase so annoying but it's actually really important because not only does it help your body recover, especially after a strength training phase where you're lifting really heavy, but I also find that I can work on my form and I can just check and make sure, okay, when I'm doing a bicep curl, am I swinging my whole body to try to get the weight up, or am I really concentrated on just my bicep lifting the weight? How is my posture? How's the rest of my body? Is my back straight when I'm doing a bent over row? Are my legs the proper width apart? So I can check kind of the rest of my body in a deload phase while I'm lifting the weight and kind of fix those little points that maybe aren't quite right, so that when I do move back into a heavier training phase, I'll have those cues from my deload to know, okay, so last time in the deload we did this, we tweaked posture a little bit, so we kind of know how to do this a little bit better. So not only am I more confident in the lifts, but I feel more rested coming out of a deload, so I can just smash the next phase of heavier training. And so I find that the hypertrophy into strength, into deload, back into hypertrophy phase is amazing for me. If I could just get through that annoying deload and just do it. So that's my big secret. Those are my 3 training phases that I move through. So hypertrophy will be 6 to 8 weeks, strength training will be 3 to 4 weeks, and the deload will just be like a week or 2. And so all of this stuff, like, it does take time. And so by the end of that training phase, if I don't see muscle growth, or if I don't see myself getting closer to whatever goal that I have for that time, then I know that something needs to be tweaked. And within each phase, I might tweak certain things. So if I'm halfway through my hypertrophy phase and I'm seeing like, okay, this weight is a little too heavy for me, like I need to bump it down a little bit, I'll go ahead and do that. Like, I'll do what I need to do within each phase just to make sure that I'm hitting those micro goals within each phase. At this point, with as much as I've been working out and as much as I've been training, there are just like several layers within these basic things that I'm telling you that I've been refining and adjusting just over the years. The foundational principles are there where you just have to stick to one plan at a time, or one phase at a time if you're doing phases. And that's another thing that I struggled with earlier on, is that I would sign up for these different programs. So there'd be like a free program and it's like, sure, I'll download that. Or there would be a YouTube video and it's like, sure, I'll try that. Or there would be like a $20 program and it's like, sure, I'll sign up for that. It's not helpful to sign up for all these different plans. And so earlier on in my training, I would get a lot of free plans and a lot of YouTube stuff. And it's fine to do a free plan. I mean, we have to start somewhere, and not everything is going to work for everybody. So if you find a free plan that works for you, certainly do that. But the point is, stick to it. Stick to that plan. You can always build on top of it later, but stick to one thing. I feel like that will also take a lot of the mental stress off, because if you're signed up for all these different things, then you feel the pressure to do it all, and then, oh, well, I left that plan sitting for 6 months while I tried to do these other 3 plans over here, and it just becomes a nightmare in your mind, right? Instead, find a plan, test it out, I would say for at least 6 weeks. I mean, give it time. And I would just encourage you to track how much you're lifting, track how many days a week you're training, track your cardio, track the days that you're resting. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can just be like something on the calendar. I lifted this much weight in my bicep curl, I lifted this much weight on my hip thrust, this much on my squat, and then that's it. Track those things at least for a month. I would say even up through 6 weeks, just to see how you're progressing. And it'll be encouraging when you see your weight increase and how much weight you can move. That's motivating, because then you're getting stronger and you can literally see that you're getting stronger instead of just wondering if you're making any progress. So over the years, I have signed up for several different programs, a lot of stuff that I've kind of tried to piece together on my own. So maybe I would do a program for like 2 weeks, and then I would kind of change it and tweak it, where I was still kind of doing the program, but I changed it so much that I wasn't really doing the program. It wasn't until I started doing this program that I'm on now. It's Michelle McDaniel's program, and I've been in the group for over 3 years now, and it has just been consistent. Like, I've been able to stay consistent with this plan, and I've been able not only to stay consistent, but to build on that program when it was time for me to build. So when I got to the point where I realized, okay, I need to push more weight, I know I can do more, I was still doing the program, but I was pushing more weight. I was increasing my weight or increasing my reps depending on, again, what phase of training I was in. And I just stayed consistent with that program, and it's been 3 years, and I gotta say, like, it really works. Like, you can take a program, and when the time is right, just personalize it for what your goals are, for what you need. If your goal is not to put on muscle, that's fine. Find a program or do a free program or build your own program, but just stay consistent with it. Don't change it up so much so that your body doesn't know what you're doing and it's just like, okay girl, like, don't do that to yourself. And that's another big thing for me, is like, if I'm getting up early in the morning, if I'm training, if I'm pushing heavy weight, if I'm gonna put myself through that, like, I'm not gonna cheat myself. I'm not going to lift less than what I know I can do. If I know I can get 15 reps, I'm gonna get 15 reps. If I know I have to get 8 reps at 100 pounds of whatever the lift is that I'm doing, I'm gonna try to get 8 reps. And I'm not gonna cheat myself. I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, that was good, that's enough. No, I'm gonna push myself when it's time to push, and I'm gonna rest when it's time to rest. The other thing would be cardio. Now, cardio and I have an interesting relationship, because I started my health and fitness journey really focusing on a lot of cardio. Like, I played sports in high school. I did like casual stuff in college where it was just basketball, volleyball, like a lot of high cardio, high intensity sports. But once I got into training, I didn't want to let go of the cardio. Like, I still enjoy walking a lot. I still enjoy running. Now, although I did run the Chicago Marathon, I don't enjoy that much running, even though I did do it. I enjoy cardio. Riding spin bikes, I enjoy riding a regular bike. I don't want to give up cardio, and you don't have to give up cardio if you're weight training. Like, that's part of it, but the balance of cardio and heavy lifting, like, they're completely opposite things. Like with weight training, you're building muscle. With running, like, depending on what kind of running you're doing, you're tearing down your muscle. It's possible that you could tear down your muscle. I remember this example of like the two different kinds of runners, where it's like a short distance and a long distance runner, where like the long distance runner is like really skinny, doesn't have a lot of muscle, but then like this high impact runner who's like very, like this sprinter, has like these jacked muscles and like no fat, but they're like big and they're like strong. And I remember seeing that image and I was just like, huh, that's interesting, because I don't always like the high intensity running. Like sometimes I just want to chill and like, you know, do a nice little jog for an hour or whatever. But that is not always helpful when you're trying to build muscle. And so it all depends on what your goal is. Like, you could be fine to jog for an hour and still have plenty of muscle, but for some people, if they do a lot of cardio, then they'll lose a lot of muscle. And it all depends on your body and what you want it to look like. But for me, I started doing so much cardio that I was actually like not able to put on muscle, which for me sucked, because then I was stuck in this rut, like literally hamster wheel of wanting to do cardio but wanting to build muscle, but then I can't build muscle because I'm doing too much cardio. So it was super frustrating. So I just had to cut the running down a little bit more and maybe not do so much for so long and train heavier. Honestly, training heavier made the biggest difference for me. Pushing more, knowing that I could push more weight, seeing myself accomplish my goals, hit those reps that I needed to hit at the weight that I needed to hit them. That was really what made the difference for me. And so now I'm at a point where I can still do a good amount of cardio and I can still push a lot of weight. The only thing that I had to change was I had to do my cardio after my training session. So if you're someone who loves cardio and you don't want to give that up, don't tire yourself out at the beginning of your session by doing 40 minutes of cardio and then trying to go and push through this strength training phase and lifting 30,000 pounds in your entire workout session, all your sets, all your reps equaling 30,000 pounds. Like, that is probably not going to happen, or you're going to injure yourself before you get there. So don't even try to do that. Not recommended, because I have tried to do that before. Not recommended, not helpful. Do not waste your time in the gym, or do not waste your time at home trying to do that, okay? We're trying to be efficient. We're trying to be smart about this. So if you love cardio just as much as you love lifting, do the cardio after. Now, there might be certain instances where it's helpful to do the cardio first. And I find that the best cardio, if I do it first, is really just a warm-up cardio. So maybe 10 to 15 minutes, I'm walking on a high incline before a leg day, and I'm just taking it easy. Like, I've maybe got the treadmill on 2.5 or 3. I've got the incline all the way up. I've maybe got a band around my legs or something like that, and I'm just really warming up my legs, warming up my glutes for maybe a hypertrophy focused leg day. Another thing that really helped me break through or completely avoid plateaus is just using different kinds of weights. So for so long I was using dumbbells, and then after the catastrophe hit the world and all the gyms shut down, I started using resistance bands. Now, it was like a mild disaster for me to not be at the gym after the apocalypse, but it actually really helped me. Like, I actually lost body fat because I was training in a completely different way after going to the gym for so long and doing a lot of the same stuff at the gym. My body just completely like started transforming when I started working out at home and having resistance bands. And then I slowly started building up my home gym, but my body just over the next like 8 weeks or so into the apocalypse, it just started changing because the way that I was training was changing. I actually lost weight during the apocalypse because of just how I was training. I just started losing weight, which was awesome and not something that I would have done if it weren't for the apocalypse. I mean, that was probably one of the only good things that came out of that time, but it happened and it was pretty cool. And now in my training, using different kinds of weights are things that I incorporate into those 3 training blocks that I was talking about earlier, especially in my hypertrophy phase. Still trying to hit the same number of reps, still have the same goal in mind for that training block, but just hitting the muscle in a new way with a different kind of weight. Another thing that I started incorporating into really all of my training blocks are drop sets and burnouts. Now, I wouldn't recommend getting too intense into stuff like this if you haven't built those foundational phases. But if you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to the phases, and you understand what hypertrophy is, and you understand strength training, and you know what a deload is, you might want to try incorporating things like burnouts and drop sets. So a drop set is really when you start out with a pretty heavy weight that you're used to, and then you drop it by 2.5 to 5 pounds. So I might start off with 25-pound dumbbells for a bicep curl, and then I'll try to get 12 out of that, and then I'll drop down to 20s, and then I'll try to get 12 out of that, and maybe we'll get 10 or so, 10 to 12 out of that. Drop it down to 15s. I try to get 12 with the 15s, and then you drop it down to 10, try to get 20 with that, or you just try to get as many reps as you can. Now, I always try to match my first set of reps. So if I did 12 reps with 25s, I'll drop to 20s and I'll try to do 12, but I can usually get to 10. So I always try to stay within the 2 rep range. So if I can get 10 with 20s, I'll try to get at least 10, maybe 8, but I'll try to get 10 with 15s, and just try to stay within that range. You can hit the muscle in just a completely different way, because although you're going down in weight, you're still doing enough reps where it's super challenging, and you're still fatigued from your previous set enough to make it really hard to do even a light weight. So if I'm doing a drop set of 25 pounds, it will be nearly impossible for me to curl those 10s if I had to go through 25s, 20s, 15s, and 10s with no break in between. Because a drop set, you cannot take a break in between. So you're really pushing yourself in a new way. So drop sets are great. Highly recommend. Burnout sets are another thing that I incorporated into all phases of my training, especially during the apocalypse. I would just basically do as many reps as I could possibly do. If I did 20-pound bicep curls, and say I did 3 sets of 10 20-pound bicep curls, my 4th set will be a burnout set of resistance band curls. So I'm standing there, I'm curling, I'm counting, and I don't have an end number in mind. The end number is just going to be whatever it is when I can't lift my arms anymore and I can't do another curl. So sometimes I would get to 20, sometimes I would get to 30. One time I got to 40. That was not fun the next day when I did that. But a burnout is like you're literally just doing the most you can and falling out on the floor and maybe screaming a little bit after. But burnouts are fun because I tend to have a number in the back of my mind that I know I want to hit, and so I really want to hit that number. And once you get like 10 away from that number, I find myself just like, I start like screaming and like really trying to get it done. And they're difficult. They're similar to drop sets, but you're not dropping any weight. You're just literally burning yourself out. It's great. And so yes, those are my tips. That's a little bit more about my fitness journey, my experience with plateaus, and how I hit them, how I blasted through them, and how I try to avoid them. And then also there's the nutrition side of everything. So making sure that for me that I'm tracking my calories, that I'm tracking my macros, and I'm not doing like a bodybuilding show, or I'm not competing or anything like that. So I have a macro range that I try to hit that works for me. And so I'm aligning those calories and those macros with each phase of my training. So my hypertrophy phase, I'll have maintenance calories tied to my hypertrophy phase. And then when I move into the strength training phase, that's an area where I try to eat a little bit more protein. I might be in like a little bit of a calorie surplus. I don't need a huge calorie surplus. When I say surplus, I'm talking like 50 to like maybe 200 calories. So it's not a huge like bulking phase or anything like that. I'm just really increasing my protein by a bit, and maybe even some carbs by a bit, just to help me fuel during this strength training phase. I don't want y'all to think I'm out here like slamming 6,000 calories whenever I go into a strength training phase, because that ain't happening. Not over here. And then into my deload phase, that will be like another maintenance phase, or where I'm eating just a little bit under maintenance, because again, I'm not outputting as much energy, so I don't need to take in as much energy during a deload phase. Now during my deload phase, recently I have started incorporating a little bit more cardio. So my last deload phase, I did eat at maintenance because I was still outputting a lot of energy just in the form of cardio and sprinting and high incline training, and I have a weighted vest that I wear sometimes during this phase. And so if I'm increasing my cardio during a deload, I will operate at maintenance calories around that time. And so training in this way for me is fun. I love the training phases. I love when there's time that's built into the phases to rest, and then there's a time to really challenge yourself, and then there's a time to just kind of put your head down and get the work done. So I love training in this way. It's really helpful, and I'm eager to see, after doing these training blocks, after doing them another full year, I'm excited to see just where I'm gonna be, and I'm excited to see where my physique goes and how I'm feeling mentally, and how much more weight I'll be able to lift by this time next year. So I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah. Now, I don't know if I'm gonna be rudely interrupted by any more like marathons or any other crazy things that might come along the way, but overall, if that happens, then great, sure. I'm sure it'll be fantastic to run another 26.2 miles. I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. But we'll see. I mean, it's a finished journey, and if you're somebody who has hit a plateau, like, try not to be discouraged by it. I know it's super annoying, but think about how you've been engaging in your training. Think about your goals. Like, do you have a set goal? For the longest time, I wanted to lose fat and put on muscle, which can be done. That's still my goal right now. It can be done, but it's very hard. Sometimes it's easier to shift your goal and to maybe lose the body fat first and then try putting on muscle, or maybe focus on putting on the muscle first and then work on cutting down the body fat. Try to look at your goal and see, is your goal driving you crazy? Because if your goal is driving you crazy, then everything after that is going to be frustrating and crazy. So make your goal manageable. If you're similar to me, you kind of have to like lay your ego down and say, okay, do I want to stay on this hamster wheel, being frustrated, not knowing where to go, what to do after this? Or do I really want to reassess some things, let some things go, so that I can actually hit a manageable goal? Like, I had to do that. I want to be strong. I'm going to focus on being strong. And when I focused on that, focused on my training phases, I started hitting goals, and I started feeling confident in moving into these different training phases. If you're similar to me, once you get over that hump, it makes everything else a lot easier, including nutrition, including rest, including just overall mental health. Like, it's such a relief to finally have an answer and to finally have a next step and to see it working. Like, you have to be tracking this stuff if you're serious about coming out of a plateau or hitting a goal. You have to be willing to track something. Try tracking your calories. Try measuring. See how much peanut butter you're eating. A tablespoon is not what you think it is. Weigh things out. Just be honest with yourself. Be willing to look at what you're putting in your body and how you're training. If you're willing to look at your nutrition and you're willing to look at how you're approaching fitness, it will be so much easier for you to hit your goals. And be willing to do it consistently. Think of it this way. You go to school every day, you go to work every day, you give so much of yourself to family and friends and people who like you don't really want to hang out with, but sure, like I'll give myself to that for an hour, I'll go here, I'll show up here. Show up for yourself. Make it a priority. In the morning, I have to work out in the morning. I have to make myself a priority if I'm going to be expected to do everything else that I need to do in a day. And when I have that time to myself to work out, I'm going to track what I'm doing. I'm not going to cheat myself. I'm not going to do all this for nothing and not know where I'm at in my journey. I want to know where I'm at. I want to know how I'm doing, and I want to know how I'm going to get to the next step. And I'm not going to know how to get to the next step if I don't know where I am currently. So I encourage you, don't cheat yourself, y'all. Okay? And I hope that helps. I'm here. I'm cheering you on. The babies are here. They're cheering you on. So subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, because we want to cheer you on. We want to help you. We don't like plateaus. We don't do that up in here. So subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know what you struggle with when it comes to plateaus. Let me know some of the things that you do to help get through them. Or if you're frustrated, maybe you're in a plateau right now. Did any of these tips help? What did you learn about me today? Did you like hearing a little bit more about my fitness journey? Let me know. I made some mistakes so that hopefully you don't have to. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I've been doing a reel a day in December. This is something that I just randomly kind of decided to do. I enjoy making reels, and so I'm just putting some content out there and seeing if I can inform people and make people laugh and just have fun this month. So yeah, let me know what you thought about this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. Don't forget to say hi to the babies, and I will see you in another video next time. Thanks for watching. Bye! And now for a little outfit of the day. These are my patula shorts. Y'all know I love me some patula. So these are the bear shorts. I think this is the color matcha. Not sponsored. I spent my whole money on this, okay? Not sponsored, but patula, I'm out here. Okay? Y'all, I'm out here. And I'm a OG patula, okay? I'm an OG patula lover, okay? This shirt they don't even make anymore. I forgot the name of it, but I have it in like every color. It has a little crisscross on the back. And then also this sports bra, I don't think they make anymore either. This is the Saria sports bra that I don't think they make anymore. So I'm a OG patula. I mean, I love the clothes, and I'm out here. I'm out here selling it. I mean, granted, they don't make these anymore, but these shorts are amazing. They're great for lounging, making videos, and they're great for working out as well. Now these socks, these are just Christmas socks. They're very warm and comfortable. They are not patula, and they do not match my outfit. But I love them. And that is all.